My CEO wife looked at the elevator. Camera saw me trapped behind a buckled steel door and bleeding against the floor, then told the rescue captain to get her assistant out first. Julian, crossed at her personal assistant, had a bruised wrist and her hand wrapped around his through the glass of the other elevator, while she snapped that I should stop making her choose that I used the last bar of signal to send my broker. One line, sell every share I own before sunrise. The message left my phone at 10:47 p.m. A second later, the elevator dropped another half foot. Metal screamed above my head. The emergency light flickered red. My left leg was pinned under a collapsed panel. And warm blood had soaked through my trousers. The air smelled like burned wires and hydraulic oil through the emergency speaker. Vanessa's voice came sharp and controlled. Captain Reed, get Julian out. Now. He has a panic disorder. Ethan is conscious. He can wait. I pressed my thumb against the side button of my phone and kept recording. A man answered that Mrs. Ward, that your husband's car took structural damage. We need to stabilize. My husband is not fragile. Vanessa cut in. Julian is trapped alone. He's essential to tomorrow's acquisition meeting. I almost laughed, but the pain stopped me. Essential. That was what she called him now. The man who wore the watch I had bought for her birthday, because she said it looked better on his wrist during investor meetings. The man who answered her phone at midnight. The man who had started calling her in front of me because Mrs. Ward sounds too cold. I breathed slowly. I had already lost too much blood to waste oxygen on. Anger. The elevator camera stared down at me from the corner. Its lens was cracked, but the small green light was still on. Vanessa could see me. The rescue team could see me. Julian could probably see me. From the building. Security room feed if someone had left. The split screen open. Another voice came through the speaker. Softer male. Almost pleased. Vanessa, don't fight with him. Ethan always makes everything about status. Julian, he sounded breathless, but not hurt. Vanessa turned away from the intercom. Her words blurred for a second, then came back. I know. Just hold on. I'm here. I won't leave you. I looked at the crushed door in front of me. I had heard those words once 8 years ago when Lamora Medical Systems was nothing but a rented lab, 3 unpaid engineers and a patent application nobody wanted to fund. Vanessa had stood in our kitchen with red eyes and said, Ethan, if this fails, I lose everything. I had answered, then I won't let it fail. I signed the first guarantee. The next morning I mortgaged my family apartment. I introduced her to Dracot Capital. Igor will have my patent notes because her device needed a stabilization algorithm she could not solve. I stayed invisible because she said investors respected a female founder more if her husband was not standing behind her for 8 years. I stayed behind her tonight, behind the elevator door. She put another man in front of me. My phone buzzed. Reply from my broker came through. Confirm full block sale. Market impact significant. Once executed. Reversal impossible. My fingers were slick. I wiped my thumb on my jacket and typed slowly. Confirmed. Execute through Northbridge Private. Desk. All voting shares. All derivative. Rights before 6 a.m. Then I forwarded the elevator audio to 3people.my. Attorney, Marcus Vale.my Family Trust. Manager and Lumier's Independent Board. Director, Rachel Wynn. The elevator shook. Again, pain shot up my side. I gripped the handrail and forced myself not to groan. The intercom clicked. This time, Vanessa spoke directly to me. Ethan, listen to me. Don't be dramatic. The rescue team knows what they're doing. I stared at the speaker. Dramatic. You're conscious. Julian is in shock. I'm bleeding. A pause. Then Vanessa lowered her voice the way she did when she wanted to sound reasonable in front of witnesses. I know you're upset because I came to Julian first, but this is not the time for jealousy. That sentence did something clean inside me. It cut the last thread, not snapped, not burned, cut straight through. I lifted the phone. Closer. Vanessa, I said to MY voice rough. Say that again. What? Say it clearly. You saw my elevator. You know I'm injured, and you think this is jealousy. She exhaled. Ethan, please don't weaponize this. Julian needs help. You're stronger than him. There it was. The whole marriage in one sentence. I was stronger so I could be neglected, was stable so I could be abandoned. I loved her so I could wait. I ended the call outside the elevator. Metal tools hammered against a door that was not. Mine. The rescue team had gone to. Julian. Minutes dragged. My phone. Battery dropped to 12%. I opened my banking app. Vanessa's supplementary. Black card was still active. She had used it 3 hours earlier at the hotel. Boutique downstairs. I froze it. Then the second card, then the household account, but then the travel account. Julian loved to charge. Executive accommodation to whenever Vanessa worked late. Each freeze produced a neat little confirmation. Clean, quiet, the final. At 11:16 p.m., someone finally came to my door. Mr. Ward, stay awake. We're cutting through. I did not answer at first. I was watching a notification on my phone. Marcus Vale received. Do not speak to Vanessa without counsel. Separation packet ready. Preserve all evidence. I typed with one hand. File. First thing. Also prepare revocation of spousal medical authority. The screen blurred for a second. I thought it was from pain. Then I realized I was laughing silently, not because it was funny, because Vanessa had spent years telling people I was too calm to be dangerous. She mistook calm for surrender. The door peeled open with a shriek. White work lights hit my face. A firefighter climbed and saw my leg and swore under his breath. Why weren't we sent here first? I looked past him down the corridor. Vanessa stood with one arm around Julian's shoulders. He had a blanket around him. A paramedic was wrapping his wrist. Vanessa's hair was still perfect. Her white suit had one smudge at the sleeve. Julian leaned into her like a man rescued from war. Our eyes met. For a moment, she seemed relieved. Then she saw my phone in my hand. She saw the recording light. Her expression changed. Not guilt, calculation. Ethan, she called out, stepping toward me. Give me the phone. The firefighter blocked her. Mom stepped back. I'm his wife. I smiled faintly. Not for long. Her hand stopped in midair. Julian lifted his head from her shoulder. The fear on his face was not from the elevator. It was from recognition. He knew what kind of man recorded before he bled. He knew what kind of man moved before he shouted. And he knew before Vanessa did that. I had already started as they lifted me onto the stretcher. My phone buzzed one last time before dying. Northbridge Private. Desk. Buyer confirmed. Overnight execution in progress. Vanessa followed the stretcher to heal, striking the marble floor. Ethan, don't do this here. I closed my eyes. That's the difference between us, I said. You made your choice here. The elevator door slid behind me, twisted and blackened. Julian called her name. She turned back. Of course that she did. And while she turned, MyShares began. Leaving her company, I woke up in the hospital to the sound of Vanessa giving orders outside my room, not asking how I was not speaking to a doctor giving orders. No visitors except me, she said. No statements. No police until corporate. Council arrives. And if anyone asks, both elevators malfunctioned at the same time due to a building issue. A nurse answered, Mrs. Ward, MR. Ward is awake. He can decide who. I am his wife. I open my eyes. White ceiling for line. Bandaged ribs. A brace around my left leg. My throat felt raw. The room smelled like disinfectant and plastic. I turned my head. Vanessa stood at the door in yesterday's suit. Though someone had cleaned the smudge from her sleeve, she had changed her shoes. Of course, she had. Julian stood behind her. No hospital gown. No serious injury. Just a soft brace on his wrist and a pail. Expression practice enough for cameras. He was holding a paper cup of coffee. My coffee. Vanessa always bought that brand. When she wanted to pretend she remember my habits. She saw me looking at it and said, I brought you something. You gave it to him. Julian blinked, then smiled weakly. I thought you were asleep. Vanessa was worried. Were you? Vanessa stepped in and shut the door. Ethan, we need to talk before this becomes a disaster. I shifted against the pillow. Pain tightened around my ribs. It already became one. I mean publicly. She lowered her voice. The acquisition team is nervous. The building management is panicking. If you release anything emotional, IT could damage Lamora. I stared at her. I had spent 8 years teaching her how to stop bleeding in a crisis. Control. Facts. Freeze. Liability. Preserve. Options that speak only through counsel. She had learned everything except the part where I was a human being. Did you ask the surgeon how bad my leg is? Her mouth tightened. Of course I care about your leg. What did he say? Silence. Julian looked down at his coffee. Vanessa crossed her arms. You're trying to punish me. No, I'm asking what the doctor said. You had a fracture and blood loss. You'll recover. That's not what I asked. Her eyes flashed. Fine. I haven't spoken to him yet. I was handling the company. There it was. Again, the company always standing. Between us like an altar. Julian stepped forward. Ethan, I know last night looked bad, but Vanessa had to make a fast decision. I have trauma from small spaces. She knew you could stay. Rational. I looked at his wrist brace. Does the brace help with panic? His face stiffened. Vanessa snapped. Don't start. I reached for the tablet on the side table. The nurse must have left it there. 4 forms. My email was already logged in through hospital verification. Opened. The document Marcus had sent. Revocation of spousal medical authority. Vanessa saw the title. Her posture changed. Ethan. I signed with my finger. The tablet chimed. Document completed. A copy went to the hospital. Administration. Marcus and my trust. Manager. Vanessa. Took 1 step toward the bed. What did you just sign? You no longer make medical decisions for me. Her face hardened. That is absurd. It was absurd when you used wife status to block the police. I was protecting you. You were protecting him. Julian gave a wounded laugh. This is exactly what I mean. You turn everything into competition. I picked up the call button and pressed it. A nurse entered within seconds. Yes, Mr. Ward. Please remove. Mr. Cross from my room. Vanessa's eyes widened. Ethan. Don't embarrass him. He is not family. He is not my doctor. He is not my lawyer. He is no Reason to be here. The nurse looked at Julian. Julian glanced at Vanessa, waiting for her to save him. For years, she had at dinners atboardevents.at, our anniversary dinner, when he accidentally booked himself a seat at our table at my father's memorial. When he answered Vanessa's phone and told, guess she was too busy to stand beside me. Vanessa opened her mouth. I pressed the button again. Security. Please. That word landed harder than shouting. Julian's face flushed. Vanessa said, you're really doing this over a rescue order? No, I said, I'm doing this because last night you saw the truth and still chose a lie. The nurse stepped aside as two security staff appeared. Julian forced a smile. I'll wait. Outside. Vanessa, no. I said, you'll wait somewhere else. His smile thinned. He left with slow, that wounded dignity, that the kind he used when he wanted observers to think he was too noble to fight. The door closed. Vanessa turned on me. You humiliated him. You abandoned me. The words hung between us for first time. She did not answer immediately. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down. I watched her face change. Not much. Vanessa had trained herself for boardrooms and cameras, but I knew the small signs, the slight tightening. Around her left eye, the thumb freezing. Above the screen. Problem? I asked. She locked the phone. No, mine was charging. Beside the bed. It buzzed too. I picked it up. 3 notifications came in. Black card ending 1091. Supplementary. Access terminated. Household account. Joint spending restrictions. Activated. Ward Family Trust. Spousal. Benefit review opened. Vanessa's phone. Buzz again. This time she did not hide it fast enough. Transaction declined. Probably the hospital parking payment or Julian's car service or the suite she had booked near the hospital under my account because she hated sleeping in chairs. I set my phone down. Vanessa's voice dropped. You froze my cards. I froze my cards. We are married for now. Ethan, I don't have time for this. Childish retaliation. I reached for the envelope Marcus' courier had delivered while I was unconscious. It lay on the table beside the bed, that thick and cream colored. I held it out. She did not take it. What is that? The first adult document in this room. Her fingers closed around the envelope. She opened it. The top page read, Notice of legal separation and preservation of marital assets. Under it were spending restrictions. Asset disclosures. Evidence preservation demands. NA. Warning against transferring company or personal funds to third parties. Third parties included Julian Cross by name. Vanessa's eyes stopped moving. You had this prepared. I had a draft prepared. Years ago. That hit her little good. She looked up years ago. The first time. Julian used your phone to tell me not to come to your hotel because you were too exhausted to play wife. I called Marcus. Her lips parted. Julian had told her that I never reacted. He was right. I did not react. I documented. Vanessa lowered the papers. If you had doubts, you should have talked to me. I did. When I asked why your assistant had our anniversary restaurant reservation, changed the 3 seats, that was business. When I asked why he signed your birthday card before I did, he was coordinating the party. When I asked why, he was listed as your emergency contact. In Singapore. She looked away. I nodded. Exactly. Her phone rang. This time the name lit up clearly. Julian. She rejected it. Too late. Had seen enough. The room door opened again. A young man in a charcoal suit stepped in. Marcus. Vale never wasted movement. He carried a leather folder and the expression of a man who had already built 3 hours before breakfast. Mr. Ward, he said. The block. Sale executed. Vanessa turned. What? Block sale? Marcus looked at me. Not her. 41% of Lamora voting shares. Transferred to Northbridge Credit. Partners at 5:42 a.m. confirmation. Filed. Derivative rights included. Your guarantee withdrawal notices were sent. At 65. The room became very still. Vanessa stared at me. You sold your Lamora shares. Yes, without telling me. You sent my rescue team to your assistant. Without telling me. Her hand tightened around the separation notice until the edge bent. You can't do that. Those shares are tied to company stability. They were tied to me. Ethan, the acquisition is your problem. Her phone started ringing again. Then Marcus. Then hers again. Julian's name. Board. Chair. CFO. Unknown number. Board chair. Again. The first small crack had opened. Vanessa looked at the hospital bed. For line. My bandaged leg. The lawyer. Beside me. And the papers in her hand. For the first time since I woke up, she seemed to understand I was not asking for an apology. I was removing myself from her life piece by piece. Marcus placed another document on the table. Mrs. Ward, all communication with Mr. Ward now goes through counsel. Vanessa whispered, Ethan, don't hide behind a lawyer. I looked at the door where Julian had stood. You had behind a husband for 8 years. My phone buzzed. A message from Rachel Wynn. Lumire's independent director. Emergency board. Call at noon. Vanessa is demanding your attendance. Northbridge is asking questions about Julian. I turned the screen toward Marcus. Tell them I'll attend by video. Vanessa exhaled in relief. I finished the sentence. As a selling shareholder and creditor. Witness. Not as her husband. Her relief vanished. Outside the room, Julian raised his voice at a nurse. Vanessa needs me. In there. She looked toward the door by instinct. I saw the moment. She wanted to go to him again. I smiled without warmth. Go ahead. She did not move. That was new, but it was too late to matter. Marcus called it an evidence box. I called it 8 years of being told I was overreacting. By noon at the hospital, room had become a temporary command center. My leg was elevated. My ribs were wrapped, and a nurse had threatened to sedate me if I ignored pain again. Marcus sat by the window with his laptop open. My trust manager, Elaine Porter, joined by video. Rachel Wynn stayed muted on a separate line, listening from Lumra's board channel. On the table lay 5 categories of documents. Marriage, money.company, Julian.elevator. I started with the elevator. Building. Security already sent the raw feed. I asked. Marcus nodded. Preservation. Letter went out at 7:30. The buildings. Insurer replied. They will not release. To Lamora Corporate Counsel without your authorization because you are an injured party. Good emergency dispatch audio. Forwarded from my phone. Rescue captain. Statement. He's willing to provide one. Off the record for now. He didn't like being ordered away from the more damaged elevator. Marcus typed. Vanessa had always said I was too clinical during conflict. She was wrong. I was clinical because emotion made people sloppy. Julian was emotional on purpose. Vanessa was emotional when it suited her. Had no interest in fighting either of them on that ground. We moved to money. Elaine, share the account map. Supplementary. Cards are closed. Household account. Restricted. The 5th Avenue apartment is separate property under the 2018 trust transfer. The lake house was purchased before marriage. The marital penthouses mix funds. But your contribution is traceable at 86%. Marcus, glanced at me. Julian used the executive travel account again last night. How much? Elaine pulled up the line. $4.800. Pai vite ambulance upgrade, point hotel suite. Clothing dot and a car service. I looked up. Private ambulance. Marcus mouth. Flattened. Apparently them are. Cross refused. Standard transport after rescue. Mrs. Ward authorized a private medical. Transfer under the company emergency. Account. Your card was backup payment. I stared at the number. Had been cut out of an elevator with a crushed leg. Julian had been chauffeured to a suite, added to the reimbursement claim. I said, Marcus did. At 12:03 p.m., Vanessa entered the board call. Her video background showed her office. She had changed into a navy blazer. Her hair was tied back. Her face was calm enough to fool strangers. Not me. Julian stood behind her left shoulder. Of course, Rachel spoke first. This emergency session is called in response to the overnight transfer of Mr. Ward's voting, shares of withdrawal of personal guarantees, and the incident at Meridian Tower. Vanessa said, before we allow panic to spread, I want to state that this is a private marital dispute. Ethan is injured. Emotional. And being influenced by counsel. I almost admired the speed she had moved from jealous to unstable before lunch. Marcus unmuted. Mr. Ward is present. Lucid and represented. Vanessa's eyes flicked to him. Marcus. With respect, this is a company matter. With respect, Marcus said, your company used Mr. Ward's personal guarantees, relied on his voting block, and now faces liability related to an accident in which you allegedly directed rescue resources away from him while he was injured. Julian leaned in. That allegation is disgusting. I looked at him through the screen. His wrist brace was gone. Interesting. He noticed me noticing and slid his hand behind Vanessa's chair. Rachel spoke calmly. Mr. Cross, you are not a board member. Vanessa stiffened. Julian coordinates my executive communications. Not in this session. Rachel said, please leave the room. Julian's face changed. Just a flash. Then he smiled. Of course. He bent close to Vanessa before leaving. Too close. The camera caught it. Don't let them bully you. He murmured. Rachel's eyes narrowed. Vanessa did not correct him. The door closed. Rachel continued. Vanessa. We need clarity. Did you direct emergency personnel to Mr. Cross before your husband? Vanessa said that I directed them to the person in acute psychological distress. Was Mr. Ward physically injured? I didn't know the full extent. I raised my phone and played the first. Kalip. Her voice filled the hospital room. And the board call. My husband is not fragile. Julian is trapped alone. He's essential to tomorrow's acquisition meeting. No. One spoke. Then the clip continued. You're conscious. Julian is in shock. Don't make this about jealousy. Rachel closed her eyes briefly. Vanessa's jaw tightened. That was taken out of context. I stopped the recording. That is the context. Her gaze moved from the camera to somewhere off-screen. Probably toward the door Julian had exited. I let her look. Then I opened the next file. Rachel. I said, you should also request internal access logs for the executive emergency channel. Someone rerouted building communications through Vanessa's office before the rescue team arrived. Vanessa frowned. What are you talking about? Marcus answered. We have reason to believe the rescue instruction log was modified after the fact. That's impossible. Then it will be easy to prove. Rachel leaned forward. Who had access? Vanessa looked uncertain. I answered. Vanessa. Me. The facilities director. And Julian. Her face went Still, he only had temporary access because he coordinates after hours. Events, temporary access that never expired. I said, Rachel typed something. I'm ordering an independent. Forensic review. Vanessa's voice sharpened. Rachel, don't overreact. We have an acquisition closing in 9 days. Noted. Rachel said, that is exactly why I'm ordering it. The call ended with more questions and answers. That was fine. Questions were cracks. Cracks became openings. Openings became collapse. After the call, Marcus opened the marriage folder, the divorce. Petition can be filed after medical. Stabilization. But asset preservation should go today. Do it. You understand that once we file, Vanessa will likely counterclaim. Emotional distress. Coercion. Maybe argue you acted to damage marital assets by selling shares. She can try. She will say the sale was revenge. It was. Marcus looked up. I added legal revenge. Contractual revenge. Documented revenge. He almost smiled. We'll phrase it differently. Elaine cleared her throat on video. One more issue. There are recurring transfers from Vanessa's personal account to an entity called Crosspoint Advisory. Julian registered to his sister. Total over 16 months. $620.000. Marcus went still from marital funds. Partially. Some came from Vanessa's salary account. Some from distributions tied to shares Ethan retained before the sale. I closed my eyes for a second. Not from pain. From the clean confirmation. That betrayal rarely stayed emotional. It always found a bank account. Freeze. What we can. I said. Trace the rest. Marcus typed. The hospital door opened. A different nurse stepped in. Mr. Ward, there's a woman outside saying she's your mother-in-law. She says your wife needs your signature urgently. I looked at Marcus. He stood. What signature? The nurse checked the paper in her hand. Something about confirming last night's accident was due to your personal attempt to force open the elevator door. My room went quiet. Then Marcus held out his hand. Please bring me the document. The nurse hesitated. It has already been signed by Mrs. Ward. Of course, the IT had. Vanessa's first instinct had been to protect Julian. Her second was to make me share the blame. I leaned back against the pillow. The pain monitor beeped faster. Marcus looked at me. Ethan. I'm fine. You are not fine. No, I said. But I'm clear. The nurse returned with a photocopy. At the bottom. Vanessa's signature cut across the page in confident blue ink. Above it was a statement claiming I had panicked in the elevator, damaged emergency equipment, delayed rescue efforts, and caused confusion that forced Vanessa to prioritize Julian's extraction. Julian's witness signature sat below hers. I read it twice, then I handed it to Marcus. File defamation notice today. Marcus nodded and called Captain Reed. I said, ask him whether he enjoys being accused of taking orders from a panicking injured man trapped in another elevator. For the first time that day, Marcus showed teeth. I imagine he does not. My phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. My mother is coming in. Be respectful. Sign. The clarification. We can still contain this. I replied with one word. No. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Again. Then came the sentence that told me she still did not understand. Don't force me to choose between my husband and my company. I looked at the elevator folder, and then the money folder, then the forged statement with Julian's signature. I typed back. You already chose. Now I'm choosing the consequences. Outside at MY, mother-in-law's voice rose. He is my Son-in-law, he will see me. Marcus buttoned his jacket. Shall I? I nodded. The door opened and the family part of the war walked in. Vanessa's mother walked into my hospital room like she owned the building. Margaret Cole had built her life on three things: posture, pearl necklaces, and selective memory. She remembered every favor her family gave. She forgot every favor they received. Behind her came Vanessa's father, Henry, quiet as usual, and her younger brother, Aaron, already filming on his phone until Marcus told him to. Put it away. Margaret looked at my leg. Brace first, then my face, then the lawyer. Her disappointment was almost theatrical. Ethan, she said that this is beneath you. I did not answer. She took that as permission. Vanessa is under unimaginable pressure. The company is at a critical stage. Julian nearly died last night, and instead of supporting your wife, you froze cards and sold shares like a vengeful teenager. Marcus stepped forward. Mrs. Cole to MR. Ward is recovering from traumatic injuries. Keep your remarks brief. She ignored him. You, our family. Family does not destroy. Family in public. That was rich. The Cole family had treated me like a useful appliance for years. Invite Ethan when a check was needed. Exclude Ethan when credit was given. Call Ethan family when Vanessa needed support. Call him sensitive when he asked why Julian sat beside her at every table. I looked at Henry. Did you read the statement? Vanessa signed. His face tightened. Margaret answered for him. It was necessary. It says I caused a rescue. Delay. You were upset. People panicking. Emergencies. I was trapped under steel. And Julian was trapped, too. With a bruised wrist, Aaron muttered. You don't know his trauma. I turned my head toward him. He looked away. Good. People like Aaron were brave only when surrounded. Marcus placed a forged statement on the table. Mrs. Cole, your daughter and Mr. Cross signed a document that may expose them to defamation and obstruction claims. Pressuring an injured party to sign a false corroboration will not help. Margaret's lips thinned. You lawyers always make things ugly. No, said you came here with a lie and asked me to bless it. Henry finally spoke. Ethan, maybe we should all calm down. Come home tonight. We'll have dinner. Talk privately. No lawyers. I almost admired the old man's timing. A family dinner. The Cole family's favorite. Courtroom at their table. Margaret controlled the seating. Vanessa controlled the narrative. Julian played loyal victim. And I was expected to swallow humiliation for dessert. I said, fine. Marcus looked at me. Margaret's expression softened with victory. Good. 7 o'clock at the old house. I'll come with my lawyer. Her smile vanished. That's unnecessary. So was sending my rescue team away. At 7, I arrived in medical transport chair with Marcus behind me and a sealed folder on my lap. The Cole house was lit like a holiday. Portrait, warm lamps, silver dishes, white flowers, the same dining room where Vanessa's parents had toasted us on our wedding night and told me I was lucky to marry a woman destined for greatness. Julian opened the front door. Not Vanessa. Julian, he wore black turtleneck, and a wrist brace, and the soft expression of a man trying to look wounded in expensive lighting. Ethan, he said, I'm glad you came. Vanessa has been so worried. I looked past him. Move. His eyes flickered. Then he stepped aside. The dining room was set for 8. Margaret at the head. Henry beside her. Aaron and his wife on one side. Vanessa on the other. Julian sat in the chair to Vanessa's right. My Chaired the chair I had occupied for 6 years. A plate had been placed at the far end near the kitchen door. Margaret saw me notice. Julian is still shaken. She said smoothly, he needs to sit near. Vanessa, I wheeled myself to the far, and Marcus remained standing. Vanessa's eyes followed me, something like discomfort crossed her face. Too late. Julian lowered his gaze. If this is uncomfortable that I can move. He did not move. I set my folder beside the plate. No need. Margaret began dinner with a speech. She praised Vanessa's strength, Julian's loyalty to the importance of protecting Lamora, the ugliness of public scandal. She spoke for 6 minutes, without saying once that I had almost died. Then she lifted her wine glass to family choosing, forgiveness over ego. No one drank. I opened my folder. Paper sounded very loud in that polished room. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Ethan that not at dinner. You invited me to talk privately, so let's talk. Vanessa sat down her fork. Ethan, I placed the first document on the table. The Cole family house refinanced in 2020. Emergency payment made by me when Henry's investment fund collapsed. Henry's face went gray. Margaret snapped. That was a temporary arrangement. Paid in full. Never reimbursed. Second document. Aaron's restaurant. Initial capital. Lease guarantee. Payroll rescue during the pandemic. Paid by me. Aaron's wife looked at him. He whispered, that's not. I slid over the bank transfer records. Third document. Vanessa's mother's medical concierge. Membership. Mine. Margaret's pearls. Shifted as she swallowed. Fourth document. Vanessa's first investor. Dinner at the Grand Meridian. Mine. Her. Founder image consultant. Mine. The dress she wore on the Forbes cover. Mine. Vanessa's hand closed around her. Napkin. Why are you doing this? Because your family keeps saying family does not destroy family. I want the record clear on who is family and who is invoice. Julian leaned back. That's cruel. I turned to him. You charge a private ambulance to my card after I was cut out of an elevator. Vanessa looked at him. He blinked. I didn't know it was his card. I pulled another page. The hotel. Suite. That two. His mouth closed. Margaret. Récouffe it fast. This is petty. Accounting. No, Marcus said. This is financial traceability. I placed the last document in front of Vanessa. It was a copy of the card freeze notice and spending restriction from tonight. No, Cole family expense runs through my accounts. No emergency payments. That NO. Guarantees. NO quiet fixes. Aaron shot up from his chair. You can't just cut people off. I looked at him. I just did. Vanessa finally spoke low and tight. You're humiliating my family. I pointed to Julian sitting beside her. You let him sit in my chair. Her eyes moved to the chair for 1 second. She looked ashamed. Julian saw it and reached for her hand. Vanessa, don't let him twist this. She did not pull away. So I gave her the next page, a formal demand for Julian to reimburse unauthorized personal charges. His name, amounts. Dates, supporting receipts. Julian's hand retreated from hers. Margaret snatched the page first. This is absurd. Marcus produced another copy. There are copies for everyone. Aaron's wife took one. Henry took another. Vanessa did not move. Her voice came out flat. Julian, did you use Ethan's card? Julian's expression softened. Vanessa, I used the accounts you told me were executive support accounts. That is not an answer. I said. He turned on me. You never cared about the company. You only cared about controlling her. That was his mistake. People like Julian survive by implying never by declaring. Marcus placed a recorder in the center of the table. Please continue. Julian saw it. The room shifted. Vanessa looked at Marcus then. At me. You're recording family dinner. I recorded my wife choosing her assistant. Over my life. Dinner felt less sacred. Henry put his head in his hands. Margaret stood. This dinner is over. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. I slid one final envelope across the table. This is notice that the marital penthouse locks will be changed. Tomorrow, Vanessa may collect personal items through counsel. Julian is not permitted on the property. Vanessa rose, so fast her chair scraped the floor. You're throwing me out of our home. I'm removing your assistant from mine. That penthouse is marital property. 86%. Traceable separate contribution. You can argue the rest in court. Julian stood. 2. Vanessa that we should leave. I looked at him. You're not leaving in the car I paid for. His face froze outside through the dining room window. A tow trucks. Amber lights flashed. Vanessa turned. Slowly. The black executive car Julian had been using for 6 months was being loaded onto a flatbed. Her hand went to the back of her chair. Julian whispered, "You had my car towed." "My car," that I said. For once, no one corrected me. Vanessa walked to the window. Her reflection looked pale against the glass. The tow truck pulled away. Julian's status symbol went with it. And at the dining table where he had taken my chair that he had to stand like a guest, nobody had offered a ride home. By morning, Julian had made himself a victim online. He did it carefully. No names, no direct accusations. Just a photo of his bandaged wrist resting beside a hospital. Bracelet lit by soft morning sun. Caption: some emergencies show you who sees your fear and who turns pain into punishment. Grateful for the people who choose compassion under pressure. Vanessa liked it within 3 minutes. Then, Lumier's communications director reposted a generic statement about leadership under crisis. By noon, industry accounts were whispering by one. The phrase jealous husband appeared under a business gossip. Post by 2, someone had leaked that I sold my shares after a domestic disagreement. I watched it all from the hospital bed while a physical therapist showed me how to stand without putting weight on my left leg. Pain drilled through my hip. I gripped the walker. The therapist said slowly, "I am slow. You're angry." That too. Marcus entered with a tablet. Vanessa's team is pushing a narrative. I took one step. What? Narrative? That you acted irrationally after misreading an emergency decision. They are implying your share sale damaged innocent employees. Another step. My leg trembled. I steadied myself. Good. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Good. They are making it public first. He understood. If Vanessa had stayed quiet, we would have moved through legal channels only. Quietly, cleanly, with controlled damage. But she had chosen image over truth. Again, that gave me room. Send the preservation notice to L. More employees. Ready? Include Julian's. Executive communications. Card access. Emergency channel logs. And all PR. Drafts about me. Marcus tapped the tablet. Done. Within 20 minutes. Lumier's general counsel called him. Within 40. Vanessa called me directly from a blocked number. I let it ring. Then I forwarded the number to Marcus. A minute later, Marcus' phone rang. He answered on speaker. Marcus Vale. Vanessa's voice came through cold. Tell Ethan to stop turning this into litigation. Marcus looked at me. I nodded. He said, Mrs. Ward, all. Communication. I know what you said. I am not discussing divorce. I am discussing my company. Your company received a legal preservation demand. Because your staff may possess evidence related to Mr. Ward's injuries and subsequent defamation. Defamation. Her laugh was sharp. He froze my family out. Humiliated Julian. And sold shares to A. Hostile credit group. Now he wants to play victim. I took the phone. Marcus did not stop me. Vanessa. Silence then. Softer. Ethan. Say exactly what you mean. You want. Exact. Fine. You are punishing me because I saved Julian. First. No, I am divorcing you because you saved Julian first and then asked me to lie about it. She inhaled. I was trying to protect everyone. You signed a statement blaming me. Corporate counsel. Drafted emergency language and Julian signed as witness. He was there. He was not in my elevator. She had no answer. Then she changed tactics. You are injured. You are angry. I understand that. Come home. We can handle this. Privately. Home locks changed at 3. A. Pause. What? You can schedule a supervised pickup. You have no right. I have a court filing that says otherwise. Her voice hardened again. You think because you have money that you can erase me from my own life? No, I think because I have evidence that I can stop you from. Irasin mine. She went quiet in the background. Julian said something not clear, but I heard my name. I smiled. Put him on. Vanessa snapped. Absolutely not. Then keep him off my accounts. .my property.my medical decisions. And my accident statement. I ended the call. Marcus gave me a look. Not bad. I shouldn't have taken it. No, but not bad. That afternoon, Vanessa tried the family route again. The Cole family. Group chat lit up. Had muted it years ago, but not left it. Another habit. Vanessa misread is weakness. Margaret wrote first. Ethan. A real man protects his wife's dignity even when hurt. Aaron added, bro, don't destroy everyone because you're insecure about Julian. Then Aaron's wife, surprisingly. Can someone explain the car reimbursement document? No one answered her. So I did. I uploaded one PDF. Not the elevator footage. Not yet. Just the financial summary from dinner. Payments. Dates. Recipients. Receipts. Then I wrote, starting today. All future expenses are your own responsibility. Any false public statements about my injury, the elevator incident, or asset ownership will be referred to counsel. Margaret replied privately instead of in the group. You will regret humiliating Vanessa. She made you relevant. I looked at that sentence for a long time. Then I sent her one image. A scanned copy of Vanessa's original incorporation documents. Seed capital. Ethan Ward. Patent assignment support. Ethan Ward. Emergency guarantor. Ethan Ward. Strategic advisor. Ethan Ward. Margaret did not reply. By evening the 1st, consequence landed. Julian tried to enter the penthouse. The building manager called me personally. Mr. Ward. Mr. Cross is in the lobby with Mrs. Ward's assistant badge. He says Mrs. Ward authorized him to collect documents. Is Mrs. Ward with him? No. Then deny entry. He's insisting. Call security and send me the footage. 10 minutes later, a video arrived. Julian stood in the marble lobby wearing sunglasses indoors. He held a garment bag in a leather document case. His expression was calm at first. Then the manager said, Mr. Ward is revoked. Your access. Julian laughed. I work for Mrs. Ward. This is Mr. Ward's residence. I have her authorization. You do not have his. The smile slid off Julian's face. He leaned closer to the desk. Do you know who I am? The manager did not blink. A non-resident security escorted him out. I forwarded the video to Marcus, at trespass warning that already. Drafting. Then I sent the clip to Vanessa. No caption. She called within seconds. I did not answer. She texted, "Why are you treating him like a criminal?" Replied, "Because he entered my property using your name. Next time, police." Her answer came fast. "He was collecting my things that then you should have come yourself." Three dots dot then. Nothing. At 9 that night, Lamora issued a formal statement. It mentioned a private shareholder dispute, confidence in CEO Vanessa Ward, and continued trust of our acquisition partners. It did not mention the elevator. It did not mention my injuries. It did not mention Julian. 10 minutes after that statement went live, Marcus filed a first court motion for evidence preservation and asset protection at 9:31. Rachel Wen forwarded me an internal email by mistake or by conscience. Vanessa had written to the executive team, "Do not engage with Ethan. He is weaponizing private matters because he cannot accept my professional closeness with Julian." Below it, Julian had replied, all happy to provide context if needed. "Ethan has long been uncomfortable with the trust Vanessa places in me. He wanted a public fight. I gave him a formal one." At 105, Marcus sent notices to Lumier's board, acquisition council building, management. And Julian personally. The subject line was simple. Notice of litigation hold that elevator incident, defamation. Unauthorized access. And financial misuse. By 10:40, the gossip posts started disappearing. Not all. Enough. By 11:12, Julian deleted his wrist photo. By 11:30, Vanessa texted one sentence: "You are making enemies you cannot afford." I looked at the message and laughed once, then I forwarded her the confirmation from Northbridge Lamora voting block. Transferred by reserves all rights under credit agreements. I typed back "No Vanessa." I stopped paying for enemies I already had. The next morning, Lumier's largest acquisition partner requested an emergency review, and for the first time the company Vanessa loved more than our marriage asked her a question she could not charm away. Why did the invisible husband hold so much of the foundation? Vanessa chose a grand Meridian Banquet Hall for Lumra's acquisition rehearsal. That alone told me she still thought she could control the story. The Grand Meridian was where investors first noticed her. Where I sat in the back. Unnamed. While she took applause for a prototype that used my stabilization code. Where Julian had first appeared beside her with a headset and a clipboard, smiling like he had built the company with his bare hands. Now the room was full again. Board members. Acquisition lawyers. Senior engineers. Family office representatives. Point two reporters. Vanessa trusted. And Julian standing near the stage in a charcoal suit. His wrist braced back on. I arrived with Marcus. A cane. And a court-approved medical statement clearing me for limited attendance. The room shifted when people saw me. Not dramatically. Real rooms rarely do that. Conversations thinned. Eyes moved. Phones lowered. People pretended not to stare at my brace. Vanessa came toward me immediately. She looked perfect. Cream suit. Diamond. Earrings. Controlled smile. "Ethan," she said as if greeting a difficult shareholder instead of the husband she had left behind steel doors. "You shouldn't be here." I was invited. By whom? Rachel Wen appeared beside me. By the independent directors. Vanessa's smile held but barely. Julian joined her. "Ethan, this is not the place." I looked at him. "You keep appearing in places that are not yours." His jaw tightened. Vanessa touched his sleeve. A small gesture. Protective.intimate. Public. People saw it. She realized too. Late and dropped her hand. Rachel spoke. Before Vanessa could recover. We are here to address concerns before the acquisition team finalizes its diligence. Report. Mr. Ward has relevant documents. Vanessa turned to Rachel. This was supposed to be a rehearsal. It is, Rachel said for truth. That was the first time I almost smiled. The acquisition counsel, a thin man named Harold Finch, adjusted his glasses. Mr. Ward, we understand your recent share. Sale has caused some complications. However, we are not here to adjudicate marital issues. Neither am I. I walked to the front table and placed a folder. Down. No projected and no dramatic video. Papered originals are harder to dismiss. Marcus distributed copies. First, he said that Lumiere's early operating credit. Line. Personal guarantee by Ethan Ward. The CFO. Daniel Cho looked down. He knew. Second, Marcus continued. Emergency bridge funding in 2019. Ethan Ward. More pages moved through the room. Third, the algorithm contribution records. For the Lamora stabilization module. Ethan Ward's premarital research notes. Assigned without compensation under A. Spousal support agreement. Vanessa's eyes cut to me. I held her gaze. She knew those notes existed. She had convinced herself nobody else did. Harold Finch frowned. Our diligence. Packet listed Julian Cross as the executive coordinator responsible for the stabilization module's commercial rollout. Commercial rollout, Marcus said that not underlying technical contribution. Julian raised his hands. Gently. I never claimed to invent anything. Rachel opened another page. Then why does this internal award nomination say you led the stabilization breakthrough? Julian's face barely moved. I didn't write that. Vanessa said those nominations are informal. Signed by you, Rachel said. The room grew colder. Vanessa took the page. Her signature was at the bottom. She looked at Julian. He whispered, You approve hundreds of documents. It was probably drafted by HR. Daniel, the CFO, finally spoke. HR does not draft technical award nominations. Julian's eyes flicked toward him. A threat. Daniel looked down but did not retract. Marcus moved to the next document. Now, the elevator incident. Vanessa's voice. Cut in. No, we are not playing hospital. Recordings in a corporate event. Good die. Said, we won't. That surprised her. I nodded to Marcus. He handed Harold Finch another packet. These are dispatch. Timestamps. Building access logs. End. Rescue route instructions. No emotional. Audio just records. Harold read. His mouth tightened. Rachel read too. Daniel leaned over his copy. The timeline was simple. 10:31 p.m. 2 elevators. Malfunction. N:33 p.m. Building rescue. Team confirms Ethan Ward's elevator has structural damage and possible injury. 10:34 p.m. Executive emergency channel. Receives instruction to prioritize. Elevator be containing Julian Cross. 10:35 p.m. Instruction confirmed through Vanessa Ward's office terminal. N:36 p.m. Override entered under Julian. Cross's temporary access credential. Vanessa went still. Julian said quickly, that is misleading. I was trapped. I couldn't enter anything. Marcus turned a page. Remote access from a tablet. Assigned to your executive account. Location. Security lounge outside the banquet level. Julian's mouth opened. Closed. Vanessa looked at him. You said you were inside the elevator the whole time. I was. The tablet must have been logged in somewhere else. Rachel said, we have camera footage of you entering the security lounge at 10:29. Before the malfunction, the room sharpened. Julian's wounded expression cracked. I was checking guest access before both. Elevators failed. Daniel asked Vanessa, stepped between them. Enough. This is speculation. Marcus placed the final page on the table, then let the forensic audit proceed without interference. Harold Finch removed his glasses. Mrs. Ward, our client cannot continue. Acquisition review while there are unresolved questions about executive. Governance, safety liability. Undisclosed related party dependence. And possible record manipulation. Vanessa's head turned slowly. Harold, I am recommending immediate suspension of diligence. Julian whispered, they can't do that. Harold heard him. We can. That was a first real loss. Not reputation. Not comfort. Money. Timeline. Control. Vanessa understood those languages. Her fingers pressed against the table edge. Ethan, she said quietly, you don't understand what this will do. I understand exactly. Hundreds of employees were put at risk by executives who forged statements and hid control. Dependencies. She flinched at executives because it included her. Julian, desperate, turned to the room. This is revenge. He sold shares to a credit group overnight because Vanessa wouldn't abandon me while I was having a panic episode. Rachel looked at him. Mr. Cross, remove the brace. What? Your wrist. Brace. Remove it. Vanessa frowned. Rachel, this is inappropriate. Rachel lifted a page. Hospital discharge. Summary. No fracture. No sprain. Minor. Superficial redness. No brace. Prescribed. Julian's hand froze over the strap. People noticed. He laughed once. I wore it for support, Daniel muttered. Support for? What? A few people looked away. Embarrassed for him. That embarrassed him more. He ripped off the brace and dropped it on the table. They're happy. No one answered. Vanessa stared at the brace, a cheap elastic thing. A prop? A prop she had protected over my blood. I picked up my cane. I'm done here. Vanessa followed me toward the side. Exit. Ethan, wait. Marcus moved with me. She ignored him. Please, not in front of them. I stopped. She had asked me not to make things ugly in the hospital. Not to record her in the elevator, not to humiliate her family at dinner, not to bring documents to the banquet, always not in front of them, never not to hurt me. I turned. You put your hand on him. In front of them. Her eyes reened. Barely, but she held it back. He was scared. So was I. The sentence landed. Between us for once. No boredom. Language could soften it. Julian appeared behind her. Vanessa, the acquisition counsel, is leaving. She turned automatically again. Always. Again. I nodded. Go save him. She looked back, but I had already started walking. At the exit, Rachel caught up. Ethan. Yes. Northbridge's call for a lender. Meeting tomorrow without your guarantees. Numerous covenants are exposed. I know Vanessa doesn't. She will. Behind us, the banquet hall doors opened. Voices spilled out. Julian was speaking loudly, now not insisting the documents were incomplete, that Ethan had planned this for years, that Vanessa was being targeted because she was a powerful woman. He was still performing, but the room had changed for first time. People were not watching me as the jealous husband. They were watching him as the expensive mistake. My phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. I need to talk to you alone, then another. Please. I looked once, then handed the phone to Marcus. Reply with your office. Address. Marcus nodded. What time? No. Time. I stepped into the elevator lobby. The replacement elevator. Doors opened. Smoothly. I looked at the polished steel. At my reflection with the cane and the bruises in the face of a man who had finally learned to leave. Tell her all. Communication remains through counsel. Behind me, the banquet hall erupted into a new argument, the first public. Reversal was complete, but Julian had not fallen yet. Men like him did not confess. When cornered, they set fires. Julian accused me of sabotaging the elevator 2 days later. He did it through a lawyer, not a good lawyer. A loud one. The letter arrived at Marcus' office and accused me of manufacturing a mechanical crisis to embarrass Mrs. Vanessa Ward and discredit Mr. Julian Cross. It claimed I had motive because of long-standing marital insecurity. Means because I once had access to the building as a shareholder guest and opportunity because I left the banquet hall before the malfunction. It was stupid, but not harmless. Stupid lies. Still cost money to kill. Vanessa called Marcus within 10 minutes of the letters. Delivery. I sat across from him in his office, leg propped on a low chair. Reading the copy Marcus answered on. Speaker. Marcus Vale. Vanessa did not. Waste time. Nathan needs to stop. Escalating. Julian's attorney sent that. Without my approval. I underlined a sentence in the letter. Mr. Ward's history of controlling behavior toward Mrs. Ward is well documented. Interesting. I said. Vanessa went quiet. Marcus said, Mr. Ward is present. Her voice softened. Ethan. I didn't authorize this, but you gave him the story. No. Then how does his lawyer know? The exact phrase you use in your executive email? Silence. Marcus turned his laptop toward me. The phrase was there. Professional closeness. Julian's. Let her use it twice. Vanessa said he has access to my communications because he coordinates my schedule. That is going to be a problem for you. Marcus said, don't threaten me. That was not a threat. That was compliance reality. She exhaled. Ethan. Listen to me. Julian is scared. He thinks everyone is turning on him. He's right. He made mistakes, but he did not cause the elevator accident. I leaned closer to the phone. Did I? No. Then why are you still standing between him and the audit? No answer. Because she knew not everything enough. Vanessa had built a life where admitting Julian lied meant admitting she had punished me for telling the truth. That was harder than losing money. So she clung to him. Ethan, she said, I know I hurt you. It was the first time she had said anything. Close. I felt nothing move inside me. Did you? Yes. How? She hesitated. Wrong. If someone nearly dies because of your choice, the answer should not require strategy. I should have checked on you sooner, she said. Marcus looked down. Even he seemed tired. I said. Checked on me. I should have made sure the rescue team split resources more evenly. Not good enough. Her voice tightened. What do you want me to say? The truth. I was under pressure. The truth. Julian was panicking. The truth. The line was silent. Then she whispered, I chose him. First. There it was. Small but dragged out. Still alive. I closed the folder. And after that, I tried to contain the fallout. You tried to make me sign a lie. I was afraid of losing me. Another silence. Too long. I smiled faintly. Exactly. She said, that's not fair. No, it's accurate. I ended the call. Marcus. Lean back. She's starting to crack. No, she's starting to count. Difference. Cracking means remorse. Counting means she knows what she might lose. Marcus accepted that. Then we proceed. We proceeded in 3 directions. First, police. Not because I wanted drama. Because Julian had accused me of sabotage, a false accusation involving an elevator malfunction and serious Injury was not a social media issue. It was a criminal and civil liability issue. Captain Reed gave a formal statement. The building's facilities director gave another. The security lounge footage showed Julian entering with Vanessa's tablet before the malfunction. It did not show him damaging equipment. Not yet. But it showed opportunity. Second. Forensic access. Rachel convinced Lumra's board to suspend Julian's emergency channel. Permissions pending review. Vanessa objected. The board overruled her. Third. Divorce. Marcus filed a petition with asset preservation attached. The clerk stamped it at 3:18 p.m. At 3:26. Vanessa's phone began calling mine. I did not answer. At 3:29. Her assistant line called blocked at 3:31. Margaret called blocked at 3:40. Julian texted from an unknown number. You think paperwork makes you a man? She still came to me first. I stared at the message. There was the real Julian. No fragile wrist, N.O. soft caption, N.O. Loyal assistant, just a thief standing over a stolen place and grinning. I sent the message to Marcus. Then I replied, "Thank you." He typed back fast for what? I did not answer. Marcus filed it under harassment and admission of emotional provocation. That evening, I returned to the penthouse for the first time. Not alone. A medical aid helped me in. Marcus' paralegal came as witness. The building manager opened the door with the new access code. The home smelled wrong. Not because Vanessa was gone, because Julian had been there. A men's scarf lay over the back of the sofa. Not mine. A glossy business magazine sat on the coffee table that opened to Vanessa's interview. Someone had circled the paragraph where she called Julian my right hand in every crisis. On the kitchen counter sat a gift bag from the Boutique Downstairs. Inside was a tie, the same shade Vanessa once said brought out my eyes. The card read, "For tomorrow, you deserve to stand beside me. No name." It did not need one. The paralegal photographed everything. I walked to the bedroom. Vanessa's closet. Doors were open. Half her clothes were gone. My side was untouched except for one thing. Our wedding photo had been turned face down. I picked it up 8 years ago. Vanessa had held my arm with both hands. Her smile had been young to hungry and real enough to fool me. I placed the photo in a box marked marital property. Then I saw the safe, the small wall safe. Behind the wardrobe panel was open. My passport was inside. My father's watch was inside, but the blue folder was gone. The original shareholder side, lettered the one that proved Vanessa's voting rights were limited if my guarantees were withdrawn. I called Marcus. Julian has a side letter. Marcus swore softly. Are you sure? It's gone. Who knew the safe code? Vanessa and Julian. I looked at the scarf on the sofa. He knows now. Marcus' voice. Harden. Do not touch anything else. We'll file for emergency return of documents. I hung up. Then my phone buzzed. Vanessa. This time a text. Please don't make me regret loving you. I looked at the open safe. Then the gift. Dear. Then the face-on wedding photo. She still thought love was the issue. I typed back. You won't regret loving me. You'll regret underestimating what I kept after I stopped at 8:12 p.m. Marcus sent the emergency filing at 8:40. Rachel called. Her voice was tight. Ethan, Julian just uploaded documents to the board portal claiming your sold shares were contractually restricted and the sale was invalid. I closed my eyes. The stolen side letter. Of course. What else? He says Vanessa has emergency voting authority to challenge the transfer. She doesn't. He has a scan page with your signature. I open my eyes. My real signature. A. Pause. No, I don't think so. Good. Julian had finally crossed from arrogance into forgery. I looked out over the city, lights, glass, distance. Vanessa had protected him when he was inappropriate, then when he was dishonest, then when he accused me that now he was using her company portal to forge my name. I asked Rachel one question. Did Vanessa approve the upload? Rachel hesitated. Yes, there it was. The next line crossed, not by Julian to be why my wife. I said, thank you, Ethan. What are you going to do? I turned away from the window. What I should have done. Years ago, the chapter warnings was over. Now came charges. Vanessa came to Marcus' office the next morning without Julian. That alone told me the pressure had reached her bones. She arrived in a black coat, hair pulled LOW'd, and no cameras. No assistant, and no mother, and no corporate counsel. She looked less like the CEO of Lamora and more like a woman who had spent the night discovering doors could close from the other side. Marcus offered the conference room. I agreed because every wall had recording. Notice, plaques. Vanessa noticed them, too. She sat across from me, hands folded for the first time since the elevator. She looked at my leg before looking at my face. How is the pain? Managed. Are you sleeping? No. Her mouth tightened. I'm sorry. I did not answer. She had said the word. It did not fix the order. She opened her bag and pulled out the blue folder, the side letter. She placed it on the table. I brought it back. Marcus reached for gloves before touching it. Good man, I said. Where was it? At the office. Who took it from my safe? She looked down. Julian said that you gave him the code years ago for emergency document access. I almost laughed. Did you believe him? I wanted to. That was the closest she had come to truth. Marcus checked the folder. Original. Appears intact. Will verify. Vanessa leaned toward me. Ethan, that I didn't know. He uploaded a forged version until Rachel called me, but you approved it. I approved a board response package. I didn't inspect every page. You approved a document challenging my share sale, using a paper stolen from my home. She flinched. I know how it looks. Know you. Know how it is. Her eyes reened, but she held herself still. I came here without him because the board suspended his access because I needed to talk to you about us. She swallowed. Yes, Marcus shifted. I raised a hand. It's fine. Vanessa looked at him, then back to me. I made Julian too important. I waited. I thought he understood the pressure. He was always there, always anticipating what I needed. You were quiet. You never complained. I thought you were distant. I was giving you room. I know that now. No, you know you lost the room. That landed. Her voice thinned. Do you hate me? No. That surprised her. I meant it. Hate required heat. The elevator had. Burn that out. I am done with you. I said. Her hands tightened. That sounds worse. It is. She looked at the folder. If I cooperate with the audit, that if I remove Julian, that if I issue a correction, will you stop the divorce? No. The answer came so fast she blinked. Ethan, no. I almost lost you. You chose that risk. I didn't think that I could die. She closed her mouth. The room held the sentence for her. She had thought I could wait, that not die. Wait. In Vanessa's mind, I was always waiting somewhere. At home, that outside meetings, that AT family. Dinners, that I in hospital hallways, that I in a crushed elevator. Waiting for her to return after she finished choosing everything else. I opened my own folder. Inside were letters, that not legal ones, old One's got emails from early engineers, thanking me for solving technical. Blockers. Investor notes asking me to reconsider joining the board. A message from Dr. Lionel Ames confirming my stabilization model had made Lumers first device clinically viable. Vanessa saw the names. Her breath caught. You kept these. I keep records. Why didn't you ever show them? You asked me not to. Stand in your light. Her eyes closed. I continued. I agreed because I loved you, not because I had no light. She looked up. That sentence hurt her more than the card freezes. Good. It should. I never thought you had none, that she said. You let him talk like I did. He was insecure. Around you, he sat in my chair. Should have stopped it. You let him call UV in. My home. Her lips trembled. I should have stopped that, too. You let him sign a statement blaming me while my leg was still bleeding through hospital gauze. Her face broke for a second, then she controlled it. Too late. You're right, she whispered. Marcus' phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. What? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. An email from Rachel. Forensic audit preliminary. Crosspoint. Advisory received vendor pass-through. Payments. Julian appears linked. Vanessa. Copied on 2 approvals. Need response. Vanessa saw enough of the subject line. What happened? Marcus looked at her. Crosspoint advisory. That her face drained. Not completely, but enough. I don't know. That name. You transferred 600. 20.000 to it over 16 months. I said. For external strategy work, Julian. Recommended registered to his sister. She stared at me. No. Marcus tapped his screen. Corporate registry attached. Vanessa reached for her phone. I said, don't call him from this room. She froze. That was the first time she obeyed one of my boundaries. Her hand lowered. I didn't know. Maybe. Her eyes snapped to mine. You think I stole from the company? I think you stopped asking questions whenever Julian gave you an answer that made you feel needed. That was worse than yes. She stood then sat. Back down because standing too fast made her look guilty. Ethan, I need to go. Of course. She flinched again because she heard it. The old pattern. Julian needed rescuing. Vanessa would go. But this time I was not in an elevator. I was at a conference table with counsel evidence, and no expectation left. Before she left, Marcus slid a paper across the table. What is this? She asked. Formal. Demand to preserve all communications with Julian Crosspoint Advisory, and any related entities. Also notice that Mr. Ward intends to seek reimbursement from marital funds improperly transferred to third parties. Vanessa stared at the paper. You're suing me. Too. I'm divorcing you. I said, the rest depends on what you did. She picked up the paper with unsteady fingers at the door. She turned. Was any of it real to you? I looked at her for a long moment. The marriage. She nodded. Yes, I said. That's why the evidence is so complete. She did not understand at first. Then she did. Every record was a moment I had chosen not to fight. Every receipt was a dinner I had paid for while being insulted. Every email was credit I had let her take. Every access log was trust she had handed to another man. My silence had not meant I felt nothing. It meant I had been giving her chances she never recognized. She left without another word. That afternoon the tide turned. Daniel Chode, the CFO, that sent Marcus a protected disclosure. Julian had pushed several vendor approvals through Vanessa's executive account. Daniel had objected twice. Vanessa had overridden him both times after Julian claimed the vendor was tied to Ethan's old network and needed discretion. a senior engineer, sent me an email with the subject. Should have said this years ago. He attached early source files with my name. In the metadata, a former assistant message Marcus screenshots showing. Julian joking that husbands are just legacy investors with emotional passwords. That phrase spread through the board faster than any official memo. By evening, the Vanessa's allies were no longer defending Julian. They were asking what Vanessa knew. At 7:22 p.m., Julian tried to flee the narrative. He posted a statement claiming he had been used as a pawn in a collapsing marriage and had never controlled company. Finance. At 7:41, Daniel leaked nothing. Publicly, but he sent audit evidence to the board. At 8:05, Rachel notified Vanessa of a formal executive review. At 8:17, Vanessa called me. I did not answer. At 8:19, Marcus' office phone hung. He answered. Vanessa's voice came through. Please tell Ethan I removed Julian from all systems. I said, nothing. Marcus asked, effective when? Now, too late for the past. Silence. Then Vanessa said very quietly, I know, but she did not. Not yet, because Julian was not collapsing alone. He was holding her sleeve on the way down, and tomorrow he would pull. Julian was arrested in the lobby of Lamora Medical Systems at 9:12 a.m. Not dramatically, N.O. shouting. No chase, just 2 financial crimes. Investigators point 1 unformed officer. Rachel Wynn. And a very calm receptionist who disabled his guest badge before he reached the elevator. I watched the security feed from Marcus' conference room. Vanessa watched from Lumra's 32nd floor boardroom. Different screens. Same. Fall. Julian entered wearing a navy suit and no expression. He still believed confidence could pass for innocence if the lighting was expensive enough. The receptionist smiled. Good morning. Mr. Cross. One moment. Please. His badge failed. He tapped it again. Red light. He frowned. System issue. The investigator stepped from the side. Seating area. Julian Cross. His shoulder stiffened. Yes. One investigator showed identification. We have questions regarding unauthorized financial transfers. Forged documents. And evidence tampering related to the Meridian Tower elevator incident. Julian looked at the receptionist. Then the elevators. Then the camera. He knew Vanessa was watching. So he performed. For her, this is a misunderstanding. I'm Chief Executive Assistant to Vanessa Ward. Call her. Rachel appeared in frame. Ms. Ward has been notified. His face changed. Rachel, you can't authorize this. I didn't. Rachel said. The warrant did. The word hit him. Warrant. He looked smaller immediately. Not guilty. Small. Caught. Small. The officer asked him to turn around. He did. Not. Instead, he raised his voice. Vanessa. Tell them. No answer came from the ceiling. No rescue order. N.O. wife's hand. N.O. soft. I'm here. The same lobby where he once walked past me with. Vanessa's coffee and a smug nod became a stage with no audience willing to clap. The officer turned him gently but firmly. Julian's hands went behind his back. Metal closed around his wrists. Not a brace. Handcuffs. Marcus paused. The feed. That is our second major turn. I looked at the frozen image. Julian's mouth was open mid-protest. Vanessa had protected that mouth for years now. It had nowhere useful to speak. What do they have? I asked. Marcus opened the summary enough to detain and question. The warrant covers his devices, Lamora executive tablets, Crosspoint advisory accounts, and his apartment preliminary grounds. Forged signature on the side letter upload. misappropriation through vendor, pass roughs. And tampering with digital, rescue instruction logs, and the elevator. Not sabotage yet. But he altered. Response. Routing after the malfunction began that. Expose him to liability. Even if he didn't cause a mechanical failure, I nodded. Rules, not revenge fantasy. Rules were colder. Better. At 10:03. Vanessa arrived at Marcus' office without an appointment. The receptionist called. Back. She says she needs to see Mr. Ward. She looks distressed. Marcus looked at me. No. He picked up his phone and called reception. Mrs. Ward may speak with me for 5 minutes. Mr. Ward is unavailable. A minute later, Vanessa entered. She had not had time to repair herself. No full makeup, the hair loose. Coat unbuttoned. Phone in hand. She looked at me first. I did not stand. Then she looked at Marcus. They took Julian. Marcus gestured to chair. She did not. Sit. They said forged documents. Transfers. Evidence tampering. Her voice cracked on the last phrase. Tell me exactly what you gave them. Marcus said. The investigators received evidence from multiple sources. From Ethan. Among others. Her eyes came back to me. Did you know they would arrest him? I knew they should. She flinched. You hate him that much? No, I trust paper that much. Her hand tightened around her phone. He is saying I approved everything. There, it was. The dog had bitten. Marcus leaned forward, to whom his lawyer called. Lamora General Counsel. Julian claims every vendor payment was authorized by me. Every access credential was granted by me, and every statement about Ethan was made under my instruction. Was it? No. The answer came fast. Too fast. I looked at her. Some of it was. She turned to me. I trusted him. You signed. I didn't know Cross Point was his sister. You approved payments. He told me it was strategic consulting. You didn't ask. Daniel. I thought Daniel was being territorial because Julian told you that. Her face twisted. Yes, there was no satisfaction in hearing it, only confirmation. Vanessa had not been fooled by a genius. She had chosen the easier voice, the one that praised her, the one that said Ethan was controlling. Daniel was jealous. Rachel was old-fashioned. Lawyers were dramatic. And Julian alone understood her burden. Marcus opened another document. Mrs. Ward. Because Mr. Cross is now asserting that you authorize his actions, I advise you to obtain independent criminal counsel. She stared. Criminal. Potential exposure. Misuse of company. Funds. False statements. Evidence. Preservation violations. Possibly. Obstruction if the forged accident. Statement was knowingly circulated. She sat down. Finally, the chair seemed to catch her more than hold her. I didn't mean for any of this. I said. That does not answer whether you did it. She looked at me with wet eyes. Ethan. No. The word stopped her. She had used my name too many times as a rope. No more. Marcus continued. Also at the divorce. Court granted temporary asset. Restrictions this morning. You cannot transfer marital funds. Reimburse. Julian. Pay his counsel was shared. Accounts or remove documents from the penthouse. Lamora. Or the Cole. Residence. Vanessa pressed a hand to her forehead. My mother will lose her mind. Your mother pressured an injured man to sign a false statement. Marcus said. She should stay quiet for once. Vanessa did not defend Margaret. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. I watched her face. Julian. Even under investigation, he still had access to her. She answered before Marcus could warn her. Julian. Marcus stood. Do not. Julian's voice came through loud enough for all of us to hear. Vanessa. Tell him the truth. You approved Crosspoint. You told me to. Keep Ethan away from the board. You said he was emotionally unstable. You signed the accident statement first. Vanessa's lips parted. I signed what you brought. Me, you knew enough. I did not know you. Forged his signature. You wanted the sale blocked. Her hand shook. Julian, stop. No, you stop. You don't get to act innocent now. You needed me. You begged me to keep the company running while your husband sulked in the background. I saw the exact moment. She understood. He was not scared. He was negotiating with her as currency. Marcus reached over and ended the call. Vanessa stared at the dead screen. The room was quiet. Then she whispered, "He recorded that." Marcus said, "Assume he recorded everything." Her shoulders folded inward. Not much. Vanessa still had pride, but enough for me to see what had been underneath her. Confidence all along. Fear not of losing. Me doubt of standing alone in the wreckage of choices she had called leadership. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Board voted to suspend Vanessa pending investigation. Interim authority transferred to committee. Northbridge lender meeting. Moved up to this afternoon. I showed Marcus. Vanessa saw the sender. What is it? Marcus answered. Because I would not. The board suspended you. She stood. So abruptly the chair hit the wall. No. Marcus turned the screen to her eyes. Scan again. Again. AS if the words might change. Suspended. Pending. Investigation. Interim authority. Committee control. Her company had taken the first step away from her. Not because I shouted. Not because I begged. Because evidence arrived. Because Julian broke. Because she had signed too many things without asking whom they would. Barry. Vanessa looked at me. Ethan.I. Built Lamora. I met her eyes. No, we built it. Then you gave my seat to a man who sold pieces of it through his sister. She had no answer. At 3:00 p.m., Northbridge held a lender meeting. By 3:40. Lamora was in technical default under 2 credit facilities. By 4:15, Acquisition Council paused all activity indefinitely. By 500. Julian's mugshot leaked. By 6:20. The same accounts that had called me jealous began asking why. Vanessa's assistant had been arrested. By 700. Margaret Cole posted that her family was standing with truth. At 708, Aaron's wife replied publicly then, "Start by paying back Ethan." I read that twice, then I set the phone down. The third party had fallen. But the story was not over. Julian had left fingerprints on everything. Vanessa's hand was on some of them. And the final cleanup would not ask whether she cried. It would ask where she signed. The bankruptcy did not begin with a courtroom. It began with a receptionist saying, "Your access has been temporarily disabled. Mrs. Ward." Vanessa stood at Lumiere's front desk at 8:04 a.m. wearing the same kind of cream suit she had worn to the banquet. The same kind of suit that once made interns stand straighter and investors smile. Faster. This time the glass gate stayed closed. Her badge flashed red behind. Her employees pretended not to watch. A week ago, Julian had been denied entry to my penthouse. Now Vanessa was denied entry to her own executive floor. Not because the board hated her. Because suspended executives do not get unrestricted access during fraud. Investigations rules. Again, colder than revenge. She called Rachel. Rachel did not come down. She sent legal. I was not there. I saw the clip later because Marcus received it through discovery. Vanessa stood still for almost 20 seconds after the red light flashed, as if the gate might remember who she used to be. Then her phone rang. Northbridge, the buyer of MyShares, the holder of the voting block, that the creditor group that now had no sentimental reason to keep Lamore alive. By noon, Lumier's emergency situation was public. Northbridge had declined to waive covenant defaults. 2 banks demanded revised collateral, the acquisition. Partner withdrew its indicative offer. 3 hospital clients paused pilot. Programs pending. Governance review and Vanessa's personal guarantee exposure, which she had barely understood because I had always handled the ugly documents, came due in ways she could not charm. At 1:15. Marcus, and I met with my divorce. Financial analyst. The analyst laid out the chain when you sold the shares. Northbridge obtained both voting rights and derivative consent rights. I nodded because Vanessa's company debt required support for my block. Correct. Your guarantee withdrawal exposed a covenant weakness. Northbridge chose not to support management banks. Responded. Acquisition paused. Cash flow. Compression followed. Marcus added. The board can restructure, but not under. Vanessa, the analyst, tapped another page. Without acquisition proceeds, Lamora cannot cover short-term obligations and investigation costs. Bankruptcy protection is likely unless a rescue buyer appears. Will Northbridge rescue it? No, they are positioning to buy assets after filing. There it was, the title in accounting language. I sold MyShares overnight. She went bankrupt, not because I destroyed a healthy company, because I removed a lie that it was healthy without me. At 2:40, Vanessa came to the courthouse for the first divorce conference. She arrived with 2 lawyers, point 1 family law, point 1 criminal defense, that told me she had finally started listening. The waiting area was full of ordinary endings. Couples avoiding eye contact. A man holding a folder of child support forms. A woman crying quietly beside her sister. Vanessa walked in and every head turned because she still looked like someone from a magazine cover, even diminished. Then people recognized her from the news. Whisper started. Is that the CEO of the elevator? One, her assistant, got arrested, right? Vanessa heard her. Shoulders stiffened. For years she had lived on public admiration, now public curiosity tasted different. She saw me sitting with Marcus. For a second she moved as if to sit beside me. Marcus placed a folder on the empty chair. Boundary. She stopped. Her lawyer guided her to the other side. The conference itself was short, temporary asset. Restriction stayed communication. Through counsel stayed penthouse house. Access remained supervised. Marital funds under review. Unauthorized. Third-party transfers flagged. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue that MyShares sale reduced marital value. Marcus replied with the premarital share trust documents, that the separation of ownership and evidence that Vanessa's own actions and Julian's misconduct caused business deterioration. The judge did not decide. Everything judges rarely do in first conferences. But she said one sentence Vanessa could not ignore. Mrs. Ward, given the pending investigations, this court will not allow marital assets to be used to shield Mr. Cross. Vanessa lowered her eyes. Julian had become legally expensive to love. After the hearing that she approached me in the corridor. Marcus stayed beside me. Her lawyers hovered behind her. Ethan, that she said. I waited. I didn't pay his lawyer. Good. I wanted to. At least you're honest. Her mouth trembled, but she kept speaking. He keeps saying I'll go down with him if I don't help. You might. She inhaled sharply. Do you want that? I want the truth documented. That's not an answer. It is the only answer you get. She looked at my cane. Do you remember our first office? Yes. We slept on the floor because we couldn't afford furniture. I remember you said if we survived that year, that nothing could break us. I was wrong. Her eyes filled this time. She did not stop it. A tear slid down, silent and humiliating under courthouse lights. I felt the old reflex. Reach out, wipe it away, tell her we would fix it. That reflex rose like a ghost. Then I remember the elevator. Speaker. Julian is essential. Ethan can. Wait. The ghost vanished. Vanessa whispered, was selling the shares meant to punish me? Yes. She closed her eyes. At least say you were angry. I was. Clear. That's worse. I know. Her lawyer touched her elbow. She did not move. I thought you would never really leave. She said, I know. I thought you loved me. Too much. I did. She looked up, passed. Tense landed harder than any accusation. At 5:30, Julian made his final mistake. He released a written statement through his lawyer claiming Vanessa personally, instructed him to prioritize his rescue because Ethan had a history of using medical events for emotional leverage. The phrase was disgusting. It also opened the door. Marcus filed the elevator audio as part of the defamation response, not online in court where lies become liabilities. By 700, reporters had the filing summary. By 8:30, the public knew that Vanessa had called me conscious, strong, jealous, and less urgent while I was trapped in a damaged elevator. The full audio stayed sealed. Enough words became public, enough to end the debate. The next morning, Lamora filed for bankruptcy protection. Vanessa was not allowed to sign the filing. The interim committee signed it. Her name appeared in the risk section pending investigation. Executive oversight failure. Related party exposure litigation risk from injured spouse and former shareholder. I read that phrase twice, then closed the filing. At 10:12, Vanessa called Marcus' office. The receptionist transferred to voicemail. At 10:14, she called again. At 10:18, she came in. Person. Was there for a separate meeting reviewing final divorce asset schedules through the glass wall. I saw her at reception. No entouraje, no assistant, no mother, no company car. She held a folder against her chest with both arms. The receptionist spoke politely. Vanessa shook her head. Then she looked through the glass and saw me. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she raised the folder slightly as if it were an offering. Marcus went out. I watched them speak. She handed him the folder. He opened it. His expression did not change. He returned to the conference room. What is it? I asked. Vanessa's written cooperation statement. She admits Julian misled her. Confirms. She signed the accident statement without verifying it and agrees to provide full communications to investigators. I looked past him. Vanessa still stood at reception, waiting, always late. What does she want? Marcus hesitated. She wants you to read the last page personally. I took the folder. The last page was handwritten. Ethan. I chose wrong in the elevator, not because I did not know you were hurt, but because I had trained myself to believe you would always endure what Julian could. Not that was not strength. That was my cruelty. I am sorry. I know this does not save us. I am asking only that you believe I finally understand. I read it once then. I gave it back. Marcus asked. Response. I looked at Vanessa through the glass. She was watching my face like a bankrupt woman watching a final auction. File it. I said no personal response. Marcus nodded when he told her. She did not cry. She only lowered her head. That was better. Crying asked for comfort. Lowering her head admitted there was none. But the final hearing was still ahead. And Vanessa still had one thing left to lose. the legal right to call herself my wife, the divorce settlement. Conference took place in a room with bad coffee, beige walls, and a clock that ticked too loudly. Good endings should not always get beautiful rooms. Vanessa arrived early. I arrived on time. Marcus carried 2 binders. Her lawyers carried 6. That told me they were still trying to negotiate with volume. The mediator, a retired judge named Helen Ross, looked through the summaries and did not waste courtesy. Mrs. Ward at Mr. Ward at this is not a reconciliation conference. This is asset division, liability allocation, and conduct related claims. If either party is here for emotional closure, find a therapist. I liked her. Immediately, Vanessa looked at the table. I looked at the documents. The terms were direct. Divorce granted on no fault grounds with conduct evidence. Reserved for financial and civil claims. Penthouse sold or bought out by me at appraised marital portion value. Vanessa waived claim to my trust held Lamora. Proceeds, unauthorized transfers to Cross-Point Advisory, remain subject to reimbursement and separate litigation. Co-family reimbursements were reserved, no contact except through counsel for 1 year mutual. Non-disparagement excluding truthful statements in legal.regulatory. Or investigative proceedings. Vanessa's lawyer objected to the trust held share. Proceeds. Marcus opened the premarital documents. Again, originals again. The lawyer objected to the no contact term. Marcus opened the harassment exhibits. Julian's text. Margaret's pressure. Messages. Block calls. Penthouse. Trespass footage. Again, the lawyer objected to cross-point reimbursement. Marcus opened the transfer map again. The mediator looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Ward, that your exposure worsens if we litigate every item. Vanessa's lawyer whispered to her. Vanessa did not respond. She was looking at the first page of the settlement at my name. Then hers. Ethan Ward. Vanessa Cole Ward. Soon. Not the mediator asked. Mrs. Ward. Vanessa lifted her head. I want 10 minutes with Ethan. No, Marcus said. The mediator looked at me. I said, no. Vanessa's eyes tightened. 5 minutes. No. Ethan, please. I turned a page. You can speak here. Her face flushed. Not with anger. With humiliation. For years, she had pulled me into side rooms to soften me. Hallways. Hotel corners. Kitchen. Counters. After family dinners. Elevators. Never again. She swallowed. I accept most terms. Good. The mediator said, but I want one thing removed. Marcus asked, which the no contact. No. I said. Her voice shook. I am not asking to call you every day. I'm asking not to be legally barred from speaking to the man I was married to for 8 years. I looked at her. You were not barred from speaking when it mattered. The room went silent. Her lawyer looked down. The mediator's expression did not change, but her pen stopped moving. Vanessa absorbed it. Then nodded once. Keep it. That was the first irreversible cleanup. The second came at noon. Lumra's board voted to remove Vanessa permanently as she received the notification. During a break, I saw it happen from across the hallway. She stood near the vending machines with her phone in hand. Her lawyer beside her. No one else. Her face did not collapse. It emptied. She read the email. Then read it again. Then lowered the phone. The woman who had built every room around being CEO had just lost a title in a courthouse. Hallway beside a machine. Selling stale chips. Rachel called me 5 minutes later. She's out, she said. That I heard. Northbridge is acquiring core assets through the bankruptcy process. They want your consulting input. No. Pause. Ethan, the assets include your old technology. I know you don't want to. Protect it. I already did. My new filings are separate. Rachel understood. You're starting over. Noim zontenuing. Without her, the third cleanup came at 2. Margaret Cole arrived at the courthouse. No one invited her. She came. Anyway, she saw me near the conference room and marched over, pearls trembling. With anger, Yuda, she said. Marcus stepped in front of her. She moved around him. You ruined my daughter. I stood with the cane. No, I stopped, funding the ruin. Her face twisted. Vanessa made one mistake. She made one choice that then signed lies that approved. Forged documents. Protected stolen. Money. And let your family pressure me. While I was injured, Margaret's eyes flicked to the people watching. A courthouse hallway was not her dining room. She could not control the seating. She lowered her voice. If you ever loved her, they'll not finish this. I looked at Vanessa, who had stepped out behind her. Mother, Vanessa heard every word. I said that I loved her enough to build with. Her, I respect myself enough to leave. Her, Margaret raised her hand not to hit me to point still. A security officer straightened. Vanessa caught her wrist. Mom, stop. Margaret turned on her. He is taking everything. Vanessa's answer came quietly. No, he is taking what was his. Margaret stared at her daughter like she had spoken a foreign language. That was a fourth cleanup. Vanessa finally contradicted the family. That had fed on my silence. Too late to save us, just in time to stand alone. For we signed not the final decree yet, but the binding settlement. Vanessa's hand hovered over the signature line. I remembered the wedding registry. She had signed fast and laughing because my hand shook slightly. Now hers shook. The mediator said nothing. Marcus said nothing. I said nothing. Vanessa signed. The pen left a small ink blot at the end of her name. I signed after her. Clean, steady. The mediator gathered the pages. Final decree will be submitted for entry. Vanessa looked at me. So that's it. No, I said, that is the marriage. The lawsuits remain. Her face tightened. Of course, divorce ended access. It did not erase damage. Ethan, she whispered. I stood. Marcus collected my cane then, handed it to me. Vanessa stood. Too. Her lawyer touched her arm. But she shook him off for the first time. She stepped toward me without command. Defense. Or performance. Just desperation. I know you won't come back. I waited. I know I don't deserve it. I still waited. But tell me one thing. When you were in that elevator, did you think of me? The question was cruel in its innocence. I could have lied. I did not. Yes, to her. Breath caught. What did you think? I looked at the woman I had married, the woman who had loved me once, used me, later abandoned me finally, and now wanted one memory she could survive. I thought I said that if I lived, would never wait for you again. She closed her eyes. That was the last blow. N.O. Shouting N.O. insult, just the truth. I walked out behind me. Vanessa said my name once. I did not turn outside the courthouse. The air felt sharp and clean. My phone buzzed. Marcus looked at the screen. Investigators filed additional charges against Julian. Forgery, wire fraud, obstruction related. Counts. Civil restitution claim moving. 2. Good. And Vanessa regulatory. Interview next week. Civil exposure. Likely. Criminal counsel negotiating. Cooperation. I nodded. The legal system would do what it did. Slowly. Imperfectly, but moving. As I stepped into the car, I saw Vanessa through the courthouse glass. She stood alone in the hallway. No CEO titled at NO assistant NO. Mother speaking for her NO husband. Waiting. Her phone was pressed to her ear. A second later, mine rang. Unknown. Number. Marcus checked it. Forwarded. Through a new line. He answered. Marcus. Veil for Ethan Ward. Vanessa's voice broke through faintly. Please just let me say goodbye. Marcus looked at me. I shook my head. He ended the call. Outside, traffic moved. Life had no respect for personal collapse. That was good. Neither did I anymore. The final divorce decree arrived on a Thursday morning. No Sander, no cinematic. Silence. Just an email from Marcus with a stamped PDF attached. Vort. Decree entered. I opened it at my kitchen counter, standing without the cane. For the first time in weeks. My legs still hurt. It would for a while. Some injuries do not care that the legal paperwork is finished. I read the last page. Marriage dissolved. Name. Restoration granted. Property terms. Incorporated. No contact provision. Entered. Signature the court. Clean. Official. Done. I did not feel triumph. Triumph was too loud. What I felt was space. The kind of room as after someone removes furniture that was always blocking the door. By then, Vanessa's life had become a list of consequences. No publicist could soften. She lost the CEO role permanently. Lamora entered. Bankruptcy restructuring. And Northbridge bought its core assets at a price far below the acquisition number Vanessa had once bragged about at dinners. Her equity was nearly wiped out. Her deferred bonuses were frozen, pending clawback review. Her board seat was gone. Her name once attached to visionary founder now appeared in articles beside phrases like governance, failure, executive dependence, and assistant fraud scandal. The Cole family. Group chat died after Aaron's wife filed for separation and demanded disclosure of money routed through Ethan-backed accounts. Margaret stopped posting about truth. Henry sent one message through counsel offering a repayment schedule. I accepted nothing informally. Julian did not disappear. Men like him always try. 2. This time he failed. The criminal case moved forward on 4 documents. Wire fraud and evidence tampering. His sister's cross-point account was frozen. Vendor payments were traced. The private ambulance charge point hotel suite point exécutif. Car. And dozens of support expenses became exhibits in the civil restitution claim. His lawyer tried to argue he had been pressured by Vanessa. Vanessa's lawyer tried to argue she had been deceived by Julian. They turned on each other exactly as expected. In one recorded interview, Julian said Vanessa wanted Ethan neutralized because he was threatening the acquisition. In another, Vanessa said, Julian isolated me from dissenting voices and misrepresented Ethan's role. Both statements could be partly true. Neither saved them. The elevator investigation concluded that the initial malfunction came from building maintenance failure, not deliberate sabotage, but Julian had altered the rescue routing instruction. After the incident began using access, Vanessa should have revoked months earlier. That alteration delayed my extraction by 7 minutes. 7 minutes, long. Enough to bleed, long enough to understand a marriage, long enough to sell a company out from under the woman who thought I would wait forever. Captain Reed's statement became part of the civil record. He wrote that he had recommended prioritizing the more severely damaged elevator, but executive pressure redirected initial resources. Executive pressure, a clean phrase for a dirty choice. Vanessa settled my injury. Related civil claim, before trial. Not because she wanted to dot, because discovery would have put every message, every call, that everything can wait, variation into public record. The settlement was large. I donated half to a foundation supporting emergency response training and kept half because forgiveness is not a financial plan. The final time I saw Vanessa was outside Marcus' office. Not by appointment. Not by accident either. She was waiting near the building entrance wearing a gray coat I did not recognize. Her hair was shorter and no jewelry except a plain watch. She looked thinner, not beautifully tragic, just exhausted in the ordinary way. Consequences exhaust people. The security guard had already called. Upstairs, Marcus asked if I wanted to use the back exit. No, I walked out through the front. Vanessa stood when she saw me for a second. Old habit moved across her face. She almost smiled. Then she remembered she no longer had to. Right, Ethan. She said that I stopped several feet away. The guard watched. From the desk, Marcus stood behind me. Vanessa noticed both. I'm not here to violate the order, she said quickly. I asked Marcus for permission to hand over something. He said I could leave it at reception. She stopped herself. Good. She held out a small box. Marcus took it, opened it, checked it, then handed it to me. Inside was my father's watch, the one from the safe, the one she had returned during inventory. Then apparently found another strap for repaired. Polished. A note sat under it. Marcus removed the note and read it first. Then he passed it to me. I should have protected what was yours. I should have protected you. I know returning this change is nothing. I closed the box. Thank you for returning it. Her eyes filled at the formality. You sound like a stranger. I am. She swallowed. I saw the article about your new company. I said nothing. She continued anyway. Ward Signal Medical. It's a good name. It was my new company was smaller then. Lamora had been cleaner, built with my own patents under my own name. No heathen. Spouse. NO assistant with emotional. Passwords that NO family eating from. Accounts they mocked. Rachel joined as an independent director. Daniel became CFO. 3 engineers from the old days came with me not because I stole them, because they were tired of rooms where credit depended on proximity to Vanessa. Vanessa looked at the box in my hand. I used to think your silence meant I was carrying the harder part. I know you were carrying the floor. Yes, a tear fell. She wiped it herself. Finally, I loved you, she said. I believe you. Her face broke. That answer was worse than denial because belief did not mean return. I loved you badly, she whispered. Yes. She gave a small broken laugh. You always didn't know how to make things precise. Precision had saved me. Precision had ended her. She looked toward the street. Julian's plea hearing is next month. I know. He wrote me a letter. He said if I had protected him, better that none of this would have happened. That sounds like him. I burned it. I nodded once. There was nothing else to say. She looked back at me. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I had sent them to you first? I answered honestly. Yes. Hope flashed in her eyes. I killed it cleanly. I think you would still have had an answer for everything before that. Her hope dimmed because the elevator was the breaking point. Not the whole crime. The marriage had not died. In one night, it had been starved. Through 1,000 small choices, the elevator only made the body visible. Vanessa hugged her coat around herself. I don't know who I am without Lamora. That is your work now. And without you, I looked at the woman who had once been My wife, without the CEO title. Without. Julian. Without the banquet lights. That she looked almost like the woman from the first office floor. Almost, but I was no longer the man who slept beside her on that floor and mistook shared hunger for shared loyalty. Also that your work. She nodded. The guard opened the front door. For me, cold air moved into the lobby. Vanessa took one step back. Not because anyone forced her. Because she finally understood distance. Goodbye, Ethan. I held the watch box at my side. Goodbye, Vanessa. No embrace. That no last touch. That no promise to talk someday. I walked out. Behind me, the door closed softly. The city was loud. Cars. Voices. Construction. Life. Nothing paused because a marriage had ended properly. I like that. At the curb, Marcus asked, "You all right?" Yes, not really. I looked at the traffic light changing from red to green. I almost died in an elevator because my wife believed I could wait longer than the man standing beside her. Marcus said, "Nothing." I continued. She lost a marriage because I stopped waiting. She lost a company because I stopped holding it up. She lost her reputation because truth reached the room before her explanation did. And Julian he lost because he mistook borrowed protection for power. Marcus smiled faintly. That sounds like a closing argument. No, I said, that sounds like a receipt. Months later, Julian pleaded guilty to reduced charges after agreeing to restitution and cooperation. He lost his license to work in regulated financial operations. No reputable executive office would hire him. His name became searchable in all the ways ambitious men fear. Vanessa settled with numerous creditors, surrendered most of her remaining equity. And accepted a regulatory bar from serving as an officer of a public medical company for several years. The bankruptcy court approved the asset sale. Northbridge stripped Lamora down and sold pieces of it. The company did not survive as hers. The Cole family house went on the market. Aaron's restaurant closed. Margaret moved into a smaller apartment and, according to Henry's repayment letters, blamed everyone except the daughter who signed and the assistant who stole. That was not my concern. On the anniversary of the Ilvator accident, Ward Signal Medical signed its first hospital network contract. No banquet. No stage. No assistant whispering near my wife's ear. Just a conference room. Clear terms and my name on the signature line after the signing. Daniel asked if I wanted to celebrate. I said yes. We ordered takeout in the office. The engineers laughed over paper plates. Rachel toasted with bad coffee. Someone complained the chairs were uncomfortable. Someone else said that meant we were officially a startup. I looked around the room. No one stood behind me taking credit. No one asked me to shrink so they could shine. No one called my boundaries jealousy. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. A message appeared. I heard about the contract. You deserve to stand in your own light. V. No plead, no apology, no request, just a sentence. I read it, then I blocked. The number. Not because I was angry, because some doors must stay closed even when the person outside finally learns to knock. I placed the phone face down and returned to the table. Daniel raised his coffee cup to surviving elevators. The room laughed. I did too. The sound surprised me. It was not bitter. It was not forced. It was simply mine. Vanessa lost a husband who had loved her. A company it quietly held together. A name polished by his silence. And a future she thought guaranteed. She gained consequences that could not be delegated to an assistant. Julian lost the stolen seat, the stolen money, the stolen credit. And the woman whose protection he had mistaken for immunity. I lost a marriage that already stopped protecting me. Then I gained the one thing I should never have given, away myself. And that was why I would never go back.